copy of the presentation after today. You can also view it on DPD's YouTube page. We'll get started in just a moment.
Okay, and we are live streaming on YouTube, and you're good to begin. Kim?
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Kevin. Again, this is Kim Brisky with Summer Corps. We are the administrators of the SBIF program, and we're happy to have you here today for the October 2021 district rollout. As a reminder, any questions, put them in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen, and you will be receiving a copy of this presentation over email. And before we get started, Sylvia, could you please provide the message in Spanish, please?
Sure. Para la gente que prefiere escuchar la presentación en español, por favor presione el botón indicado Traducción a la mano derecha. Gracias.
Thank you so much. And now to start the presentation, I'm going to have Nora Curry with DPD get us started.
Hey, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. My name's Nora Curry. I serve as the SBIF Program Director at the Department of Planning and Development, and joining me today from DPD are my colleagues Fareed Mohammed and Lihia Ivariz, who are also on the SBIF team, and of course the team from Summer Corps, Sylvia Orozco, and Kim Brisky, who you've already heard from and we'll hear from again. Summer Corps is the program administrator contracted by DPD to run the SBIF program. And today we're excited to share some of the new enhancements to the Small Business Improvement Program. Not so new, we've been working with them for over a year now. The SBIF program provides grants to small businesses and property owners to make needed improvements to their property. The changes went into effect at the beginning of 2021. And the first enhancement was a robust 3-year funding plan, the largest in the 20-year history of the program, including a $60 million investment in 60 tax increment financing districts across the city of Chicago. The second enhancements were new program improvements. And to highlight a few of those, we increased the grant that we can give to businesses from 100 to 150,000 for commercial businesses, up to 250,000 for industrial businesses as well. We increased the amount that we can reimburse you from 75% up to 90% for the very smallest businesses we serve. We're also providing more technical assistance for you, including design assistance and construction management. So Sylvia will go into this in much more detail, and so I will stop talking and move right along to Sylvia Orozco, who will go into detail about how to apply and all the details about the program. And thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Nora. Again, my name is Sylvia Orozco. I am the Program Director for the Small Business Improvement Fund Program. Summer Corps is a not-for-profit. We administer the 504 program, NOF program, as well as the SBIF program. So please be advised that this is a non-residential program. The grants cannot be used for capital or operating expenses. It is specifically for infrastructure repairs. Now we'll go ahead and get started with today's presentation. So what is SBIF? We will talk about our program mission, the grant parameters, getting started, is your business or property in a TIF district, which SBIF districts are open or on deck, what are the program rules, how do you apply, what's the program timeline, and what are the resources available to help. We'll also go over the October 2021 rollout to see what districts are open for this month, as well as provide information for a sample project. We'll have SBIF facts available, as well as additional question and answer session at the end. Launched in 1999, the city's Small Business Improvement Fund program helps promote economic development by providing businesses and landlords with reimbursable grants for permanent building improvement cost. Again, residential projects are not eligible. SBIF grants use local tax increment financing revenue to reimburse grantees for the pre-approved rehab or repair of their business facilities or adjacent land acquisition. SummerCorps is the program administrator contracted by the City Department of Planning and Development. And at this time, I would like to introduce Ruth Kimball. She is from Channing's Child Care and Development, as well as Austin Child Care Provider Networks. Ruth, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share my story with the audience. I've been in the child care business for 25 years. I purchased a building in Austin, and after being in the building for maybe 5 years, I recognized there were several issues that I had to look at because we're running a daycare there. SBIF has been an awesome partner. I applied for the SBIF grant and received it twice for the daycare and one time for a child care network building right across the street. I can't tell you how helpful those funds were, and the support that we got from the people at SBIF is awesome. We were able to get our roof repaired, and that was a huge project. I run a daycare business, and we have a child care network of 50 providers. And I'm often talking to those providers who are interested in starting daycare commercial buildings to look into applying for the SBIF grant. It is such a great opportunity to leverage your resources and to get a lot of things done that add value to our community. So I just want to thank SBIF for the support they've given us, and I look forward to continue working with them.
Thank you very much, Ruth. We look forward to working with you once again. Eligible applicants. So who can actually apply for the program? The property first must be located in a TIF district where SBIF funds are available, and the SBIF is authorized to accept applications. So landlords of commercial or industrial properties can apply. Business owners of both commercial or industrial who either own or lease their places of business, tenants with prior written approval from property owners, and startups may apply with the business plan. A current city license will be required prior to final disbursement of funds. The eligibility limits on average for commercial tenants or owner occupied. Average gross sales must be less than $9 million per year for landlord, commercial, or industrial applicants. Cumulative net worth must be $9 million or less, and liquidity for each person is maxed out at $500,000. For industrial tenants or owner-occupied applicants, they must have 200 or fewer full-time employees in order to be considered for the grant. All owner-occupied properties are subject to both the tenant and the landlord requirements. Grant, what is the maximum grant amount allowed under SBIF? $250,000 is the maximum per industrial property. $150,000 is the max for a single commercial owner or tenant occupied property, or for a landlord of a single commercial space. $250,000 is the max. It may be granted for a multiple owner or tenant of a commercial property, with $75,000 being the maximum assistance per the tenant or the landlord. Applicants may receive one or more grants up to their maximum grant assistance. Once this max is reached, the applicants will need to wait 3 years to reapply. The percentage of reimbursement that you can receive if your net worth or sales fall between $0 and $3 million, you'd be eligible for a 90% rebate. If your net worth or sales fall between 3 to 6 million, you'd qualify for 60% rebate. And if they fall between 6 to 9 million, they would fall under the 30% rebate. All industrial projects are rebated at 50%. Here we have a grant calculation example. So let's say that Grace submits an application for a SBIF grant that's in an open district with all eligible project costs of $100,000. Let's say she's proposing a permanent building improvement to her existing retail shop for which she is a tenant. So Grace has been in business for 5 years. Over the last 3 years, her gross sales have averaged 1.5 million. Her breakdown of the eligible costs is as follows. The eligible project cost is $100,000. The commercial tenant applicant's gross sales are under $3 million. Therefore, she qualifies for 90% reimbursement. And the city's responsibility is at 90% at $90,000 in this case. And then the applicant's responsibility would be 10% at $10,000. Is your business or property in a SBIF district? In order to determine whether or not your property falls within an authorized area, you can visit our website at summercore.com/SBIF to see if your property is in a district. Once you get to this site here, you can click on number 1. That's going to take you to another website where you can enter your address and it'll tell you whether or not it is in a TIF district. So here's, you can see that address falls within the Stony Island Commercial Avenue and Burnside TIF district. So to let you know that it's in a TIF district, when we anticipate opening, and it also will give you a list of the delegate agencies in your area that are there to provide assistance throughout the process. Which districts are open or on deck? Eligible SBIF districts in Chicago span neighborhoods to the north, south, and west sides. Each month marks a new 30-day period in which SBIF districts are available for funds for open applications. Notice of district openings are provided to relevant aldermen. They're posted on DPD and SummerCore's website and also included in the SBIF grant. So again, you can visit our website at summercore.com. Once you determine that your property is in a TIF district, you can come back and click on number 2 here, and that will give you the list of districts that are open for the current month, as well as calendar for the remaining months of the year. Right now, we have it set up through the end of the year. Within a few weeks, we should have the calendar available for the next year. What businesses and organization types are ineligible to apply? So some of the businesses that do not qualify for SBIF include bars, nightclubs, hotels, motels, chains and franchise businesses, places of worship, residential storage, warehouse, junkyards, things of that sort, liquor stores. So if you're not sure whether or not your business qualifies, you can always check in with us. But these, again, this list is not all comprehensive. What are the SBIF program rules? So what improvement costs are eligible for SBIF? So we cover items such as roofing and facade, components of signs or awnings which are permanently affixed to the building, any alterations or structures that are needed for ADA compliance. If you need to add railings or create ramps or construct a new ADA compliant restroom, those sorts of constructions are covered. HVAC, including other mechanical systems, plumbing and electrical work, certain project-related architectural and construction management fees that are related to the project can be included as well. Certain environmental remediation measures, permanent interior renovations, including fixtures. The purchase of the adjacent lot parcel only if it's for expansion or parking. If you currently own your business and operate your business out of that space, the lot or the building would have to be directly adjacent in order to qualify for that. And this list is not all comprehensive, so there may be some things that we come across that may not be eligible, but you can always check in with us. We'll definitely let you know if it doesn't qualify. What improvement costs are ineligible for SBIF? So the items that we do not cover are new construction, standalone minor repairs or cosmetic related items, any equipment related to expenses such as kitchen appliances, computers, and office furniture, any planters that are surrounded or fixed to the building, fencing, parking lot construction or repair, landscaping, or work on interior residential units. And these are the items that we do not cover. What are the SBIF design requirements? In order to receive funding, the projects must conform to design requirements, including DPD's design guidelines that are found on our website. The project shall also comply with design guidelines and additional neighborhood requirements as described in the guidelines here. So applicants are strongly advised to consult with Summer Corps and design professionals on requirements and guidelines before drawing up the plans for work. All applicants for commercial properties who are approved for a grant $25,000 or more are required to make at least one exterior improvement using at least 10% of the maximum amount of their grant, including but not limited to facade repairs, windows and doors. Other exterior improvements may be eligible but is subject to DPD's approval. These requirements can be waived at DPD's sole discretion if the applicant can demonstrate to DPD's satisfaction that no exterior improvements are needed, either because the improvements have been recently completed or the exterior fixtures of the building have been well maintained and are consistent with the guidelines. What measures are in place to ensure that the applicant is in compliance with the rules? So checks will be performed on all applicants prior to funding to ensure that they are not indebted to the city. Make sure that they are current on property taxes and also complying with child support laws. Each applicant will be required to sign an economic disclosure statement. The grantees will be required to sign an affidavit certifying that they will not relocate outside of the TIF or sell the business within a 3-year period following disbursements of the funds. In case of SBIF reimbursement for land purchase, the proof of ownership will be required before the reimbursement can be made. How do you apply? You can download an application from our website. To apply, you must submit it within the open acceptance period via email. You can send it to SBIF@summercorps.com within the designated open acceptance period. What is the program timeline? So before we get into this, I do want to let everyone know that there is a possibility that we may need to conduct a lottery. So the lotteries are only conducted if there's more funding requested than what we have available. So we have a randomized draw process where every application receives a number. Put that in order. We do the randomized drawing, which basically shuffles all the numbers. And that's the order that we begin to process the applications. So if that's the case, there may be some applications that are funded, an application may be partially funded, and also we may create a wait list. So if we do create that wait list, the wait list will be good for 24 months. If within that time frame, someone doesn't use the funding that's reserved for them, that money goes to the next person on the wait list. Or if the city happens to replenish that district, the money goes directly to the wait list before we reopen it to the public. So let's say we do not have to do a lottery, or you are one of the recipients that are selected early on in the lottery. We'll get started with the stage 1 process. Now, the applicant will supply any missing information to complete their application. They have up to 20 days to do so. Once that is acceptable, your business is eligible, or you're eligible as a landlord, we then proceed to stage 2, where you'd have 120 days to submit your plans, bids and specifications, as well as city licenses, certificates of insurance from the contractors, and also cure any debts within that time frame. So please note that stage 1 and 2 must be completed before the final review and project approval by DPD. If approved, the conditional commitment letter, that will be your signal to go ahead and begin construction. So once that project is approved, you will then be moved into stage 2. The project construction timeframe will be up to 10 months. So the proof of permit or permit application are concurrent within the 10-month construction phase. So within 120 days of approval, you have to submit both your proof of financing as well as your permit application or the permit itself. So the proof of funds can be either a commitment letter from a bank statements showing that you have available balances, or, whatever other documentation you can prove to us that you have the financing available to you. We need to see that you have at least 50% of the funds needed to cover the project of the cost. So once the project is fully completed, we have all payment documentation. We submit that to the city for processing, which usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks. So unless DPD has granted an extension of time, applicants do not need to complete each stage, applicants who do not complete each stage within the required phase time limit will be disqualified. A maximum of 2 extensions may be granted with DPD's approval, only in the case of unavoidable delay that's due to extraordinary circumstances. DPD, not Summer Corps, also may on a case-by-case basis grant a grant-eligible application an additional amount of time to complete any program requirements. In such case, DPD shall have discretion to determine the appropriate length of time. What is required to deem a project complete and receive grant funds? Required proof of payment documentation includes a sworn statement, invoices, copies of canceled checks, and final waivers of lien. Summer Corps will complete site visits before and after, request copies of your permits. Once we make sure that your property taxes are paid, there's no debt to the city, we then submit that information for processing. Again, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks until we have your reimbursement. What resources are available to help? We do have resources available on our website. You can check these out here. We have a list of SBIF contractors. We have a list of SBIF lenders that are familiar with our processes, technical assistance providers, and other small business resources. Get to know your local delegate agency. These organizations are assigned to assist small business owners in the SBIF districts that are opening in October. So please, if you have not reached out to any of these organizations here, please feel free to do so. They are local to your area. So you guys might be able to, just take a quick little walk, talk to them, make an appointment. They're there to assist you. They're familiar with the process. So please feel free to reach out to any of these. And these here are also delegate agencies in these areas. So please feel free to reach out. So these here are the districts that will be opening for October. So we've begun accepting applications. We will accept them through November 1st at 5 p.m. So the districts that are open for October include 35th and Wallace, 47th and Halsted, 79th Street Corridor, Chicago and Central Park, Stockyard Southeast Quadrants, Toohey Western, and Western Avenue North. So the deadline to submit your application is November 1st at 5 p.m. Any late applications will not be considered for funding. Again, you can download our application from our website and submit that at sbif@summercorps.com. Here we have a sample project in the 79th Street Corridor TIF, Brewer Coffee and Custard at 1008 West 79th Street in Chicago. So this here shows the the property before the renovations were completed. So we did a full cut renovation as well as a brand new facade. So here you can see the after renovations of the facade and the interior build out of the coffee shop. Some of the items that we covered included a new concrete subfloor, furnish and install all rough plumbing, a new electrical system, HVAC system. We framed out all the different rooms, demolished the storefronts, installed an entirely new storefront, a new roof, as well as tuck pointing, and replaced the bricks as needed. What additional documents should I have on hand to submit along with my SBIF application? So while not everything on this list is required, when submitting the initial application, please note that these items will be required to complete the application process. So this is just the initial application. Once we start processing the applications, we'll request additional items, and the required documents vary depending on the applicant type. So not everything here would be applicable to everyone. But if you file tax returns, just know that your business tax returns will be required. Proof of ownership or site control will be required as well. Economic disclosure statements, personal financial statements are only required for the property landlords, business and property owners. So if you do not own the property just as a tenant, then you are not required to submit these items. But this is just to give you an idea of what we require. And some of these forms will be available to you. Some of the items you will need to submit to us. What are the financial requirements to participate in the SBIF program? The SBIF program is a reimbursable grant, so project participants should be prepared with financing to support the building improvements. Proof of financing is not required until stage 3, but applicants are encouraged to contact their business lender or reach out to one of the lenders listed on the Summer Corps' website in a timely manner. Grantees may choose to receive their grant funds through an escrow account. DPD at its sole discretion may authorize up to 3 draws of funding from the escrow account to reimburse an applicant as work is being completed on a project. Any fees that are associated with the use of an escrow account will be taken out of the grant award. Are startups or new businesses eligible? Yes, startups can apply. Startup applicants will need to supply a detailed business plan and projection of the business's income and expenses for its first 36 months of operation. This is as part of their application materials. So please note that the city reserves the right to impose additional conditions for funding in connection with startup business applications. If you have only been in business for 1 to 2 years, Summer Corps requires tax returns and projections of a gross sales to equal 3 years of data. Am I eligible if I live outside of Chicago? The important consideration is where you have your business or property. To participate in SBIF, your property must be in the city of Chicago, as the funding source comes from the city of Chicago property taxes. If you live in another area, please call your city's planning, economic development, or community development department to see what other programs may be available to assist to small businesses in your area. What if my building has both business and residential spaces? The program is primarily for business use, but there are mixed use exceptions. For these buildings, many envelope projects such as roofing, facade improvements, and tuck pointing can be eligible. We will cover the interior of the commercial space only. Will there be enough SBIF funds for all applicants? Each TIF district has the SBIF program authorized, has limited funds for the program. So if demand for the SBIF program is greater than the available funding supply, then a lottery will be conducted to determine the order in which each grant application may be accommodated. If any surplus funds become available, they'll be allocated to the waitlist applicants. The applications for a property located in the Invest Southwest corridors shall be given priority for funding and the lottery. The applicants for properties located in a target corridor shall be second in priority for funding and the lottery, and the remaining applications in the general areas will be funded next. Excuse me. Is there funding available in my district? Again, every SBIF area has its own funding budget, and the city rebuilds it if TIF funds are available and if there's a demonstrated need for grant money. You can email Summer Corps team at spiff@summercorps.com to see if there are funds in your SBIF. We also maintain an interested party list for funds, which you can also send an email to spiff@summercorps.com to join. When more funding becomes available or the city allocates more funds, we will let you know. The interested party list helped the city of Chicago gauge demand for additional funding. What if I'm in a TIF and it is not a SBIF? Tax increment financing is the mechanism that funds the SBIF program. So if you're in a TIF district and it does not have a SBIF, please contact your alderman to see if there are TIF funds to make this a district SBIF authorized. And again, thank you so much for your time today. Here we have our contact information for Summer Corps, as well as Nora Curry at the Department of Planning and Development. You can visit both of our websites here. If you visit the chicago.gov/SBIF website, you actually have the option to translate that into a different language. Again, a copy of the presentation and a link to the video will be emailed to all attendees.
Great. Thank you so much, Sylvia. We'll give you a second here. That was quite a bit of information, and we will also want to open up the Q&A box right now. If you had a question that you were thinking about, you can put it in the box at this moment. And the one thing I did also want to just start off with was talking about the project selection for SBIF. As a reminder, SBIF is a non-competitive grant. This is different than other grants in the city of Chicago. It is also not first come, first serve. You do have to submit your application within the appropriate application window to be considered. But the next steps in terms of which projects actually receive grant funding are a little bit different. Sylvia, do you want to talk again a little bit about just the basic process of once you receive an application through the lottery and then when you actually will contact someone, just so folks can understand that selection process?
Sure. So what that process is every application that is accepted within the open acceptance period basically is put on a spreadsheet with the number next to it. And then we have a separate line with the same numbers here. Now, we do a randomized draw process through a option in Excel where it just basically shuffles all of the numbers. And then we start placing those numbers in the order that they were drawn. So that's the way we start processing the applications. So we don't have a selection process as the computer generates those numbers. Let's say, you have a few applications on there. If there's only, let's say, $250,000, but there's been a request for $600,000 in funds. So we start processing the applications according to the actual estimate on that application until we don't have any funding available. So that's why I mentioned that there may be a chance that, let's say there's only $20,000 in the account, but you're requesting 70. We'll start your application with those $20,000 and then mark your project as underfunded. So if someone does not use the funds that's reserved for them, if they don't meet the deadline or they just simply don't qualify for the program, those funds will be put back into the account. So let's say we had an extra $50,000 for that applicant that didn't move forward, that can then go to the underfunded project. So that's how we work through the wait list. Once we complete that lottery, we have to take time to start processing the applications according to the actual request. So once that's done, we notify the applicants if we're able to fund their application or if they've been placed on the wait list. So again, that wait list is active for 24 months. If within that time frame we get more money, those funds are allocated to the wait list before we open it up to the public again.
Great. And I do want to just, I moved the slideshow back here that under the additional resources, there's the SBIF lottery results. As a reminder, you as the small business owner do not have to be at the lottery. We do actually share it over Zoom. You'll get an email from us to say, hey, we're having a lottery this day for your district. You don't have to be there, but you will be able to watch that process if you like. And then we will post the lottery results on our website, just so you can always kind of have a viewpoint of where you are on the list. But again, this is a non-competitive process. The key is to make sure that you submit your application as requested within the window and have documents ready to go when you are asked for them by the SBIF team. Great. So the next question I would say is, what is the most common stumbling block for SBIF applicants when you're getting started with this project?
I would say financing. So just keep in mind, it is a rebate program. So you do have to have the funds available to you. So if you do not currently have the funds available to you, it's never too early to get started with the process. Applying for a loan can be a time-consuming process. You do have a deadline to submit that proof of financing. So you may want to get started with that sooner rather than later. If it doesn't work out with one lender, you can always go to a next. You can start off with your lender, and if for some reason they just don't want to move forward with the application for you, you can always reach out to the lenders on our website. They are familiar with the SBIF program and the SBIF process. So another thing I do want to mention is that we can write a bank assignment to the lender stating that the proceeds of the grant will be distributed to the lender and not the applicant. So that will pay down a large portion of their loan, and the applicant would then be responsible for paying off the remainder.
Great. I guess speaking of financing, just to clarify, we talked a little bit about the reimbursement percentages. So for commercial businesses, they have one set, and then for industrial, it's 50%. Can you just remind everybody of what those reimbursement percentages are one more time?
Sure. So if it's a single commercial storefront, they can get up to $150,000. For a multi-tenant property with multiple commercial storefronts, the maximum the property can receive is $250,000, but each owner or tenant can get up to $75,000. And for industrial businesses, they can get up to $250,000.
Great. Can somebody submit more than one SBIF application?
They can submit more than one SBIF application only if the properties are two different properties that are not directly adjacent to each other. So let's say, for instance, you own two properties that are right next to each other. So we would consider that to be one property with a maximum of $150,000. We will not consider each property separate, so it will not be a total of $300,000 in that case. So as long as your properties are not directly adjacent to each other, you can submit for both, but it would be maxed at $150,000. But if you have other ones, let's say you have one building, you have another one across the street, one down the block, you can submit more than one application.
And once you actually submit an application, will they receive some type of confirmation via email that it was received, that it's in process?
Yes, they will receive a notification just letting them know that we received the application. So if you don't hear from us, please reach out to us. We do have some applications that, for some reason, sometimes our security system catches it and keeps it from getting to us. So, that's happened to us in the past. So if you don't hear from us, just please give us a call or send us an email. We'll be happy to track that down for you.
Great. Can we talk a little bit about fund availability per district, how that amount is arrived, and how folks can actually find out if there's funding in their district?
So again, every TIF district has its own funding availability to them. It's not on a calendar basis or anything like that. So we take a look at demand, and we also have to consider how much TIF funds are available. So if there's TIF funding available to be allocated to SBIF, for the most part, we try to reserve as much money as we can for the SBIF applicants.
Great. And I put back up on the screen here is just a couple of more details that if you're trying to figure out, if you're concerned that maybe your TIF district doesn't have SBIF money in it, and who you should be touching base with, and also definitely lots of communication with Summer Corps and DPD to make sure we can relay to City Council that this is a district that has a lot of demand. One last question, unless anybody else has any additional, please be sure to add them into chat, is, can you just talk a little bit about how the SBIF grant can actually be interacts with other grants in the city? Like, can somebody both be an applicant of the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund and the SBIF fund?
So you cannot use SBIF and NOF jointly at the same time. You can apply for both programs, but at one point you have to determine which one works best for you. So, you can't use both. At one point, if there is a selection process for NOF. So if you do not get selected through NOF and you still have an active SBIF application, then, your only option may be to use SBIF. So there is a choice that you have to make which one works best for you. So you can't use them both at the same time. There are other programs available through the City of Chicago that provide grants or other city funding sources. So whatever you do receive from those sources within the past 3 years will be deducted from what you would qualify for SBIF. So for example, let's say you received $20,000 in city assistance. That will make your SBIF eligible grant amount $130,000. So it will be reduced dollar for dollar. That will be your SBIF eligibility amount.
Great. We did have one other question pop up. Let's say, for example, that you have quite a bit of work that would be considered eligible for SBIF reimbursement, but perhaps it's maybe over the amount of grant funding you could receive. Do you actually get to pick which parts of your project that you could be reimbursed for, let's say?
Yes, so you do have that option. I usually tell people, if you're doing a full gut rehab, get approved for everything. You do not get penalized if you do not complete work that you're approved for, but it complicates matters when you do not get approval for something and then you seek that approval in the end. We have to go back to the drawing board and present that project for approval. So let's say, it's very urgent that you get your roof done first, and it's urgent that you get your heater fixed before the winter comes. So you can decide, okay, these are my priority projects here. This is what I want to, move forward with at this time. We can definitely do that. And we can also break it out in various phases, up to 3 phases. So let's say that was the case that you want to get your roof done. You can get that completed, submit your proof of payments. We reimburse you based off of your eligible cost. And this would be for existing businesses that are currently in operation. So we would not provide this to a landlord with a vacant property, a landlord at all, basically, until the project is fully complete. But if you are a business and property owner, we're able to provide phased payouts.
So from what I'm hearing here, really the key to help with a successful program here is to make sure you're monitoring your deadlines, being upfront and communicative with the SBIF team, that these are really important keys to help get you across the finish line.
Yes,
great.
Thank you, Kim.
Absolutely. That's it for questions that we have today. I appreciate everybody joining us for this presentation. As a reminder, we will be sending this out via email, and you can also view this on DPD's YouTube page. And we look forward to working with all of you on your projects. Thank you so much.
Thank you.